dear listeners, it is 2022 now, and I very, very much want to focus on some kind of positive thing. I would love to cover stories that have some joy in them, that have some laughter, that have some fun. That's ultimately what I'd like to do and who I'd like to be. Unfortunately, that is just not where we seem to be at right now, and I can point at a whole lot of things right now that are frustrating me, from a personal standpoint or from a professional standpoint or just from the world in general. But it's the world in general that all of you are going to care about. So I want to dig into some of the COVID crazy a little bit and just kind of give my thoughts on it. This may very well be the only segment that I do today, unless the spirit moves me. I might skip segments 2 and 3 and just let my brain calm a little bit. But I want to get into some of this, this just stupid, in my opinion. But before we do, I am Dan. This is the Soule of Wisdom. Thank you for joining me. Please do like, subscribe, share, leave comments, all those things. Every time you interact with one of our videos, or if you're on the podcast side, one of our podcasts, it does help get us out in front of more people, so we do appreciate the support in that way. Okie dokie, I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. I have various articles regarding COVID, and let's just kind of get into it. We're going to start out with Fox News. Their article, CDC sparks outrage with confusing updated COVID isolation guidance. Article reads, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention sparked outrage from critics this week after it's released what some referred to as a confusing updated guidance pertaining to isolation times for those who have contracted or been exposed to the coronavirus. The updated guidance states that if people currently in an isolation period want to take a rapid coronavirus test at the end of a 5-day isolation period, they can. However, they're not being advised to take the test. If they do decide to take the test and the results come back positive, they should continue isolating until 10 days after their symptoms started. If the test results are negative, individuals may end their isolation period, but they are advised to still wear a mask when they're around others until reaching day 10. The guidance also recommends that people who are isolated avoid places where they can't wear a mask and do not eat around others until reaching day 10. Okay. So the CDC says you no longer have to isolate for 10 days, isolate for 5. At the end of the 5 days, we don't recommend you take a test, but you can go ahead and take a test if you want to. If you do take the test, here's some additional guidelines that we want you to follow. What? So, your CDC, your Center for Disease Control, the experts, the science, right? They're saying right now that 5 days is good enough, and they're not recommending that you test after 5. But then in the same breath saying, okay, if you're going to test after day 5, here's a whole nother set of requirements that you should follow. How is any of that logical? How is any of that based in any actual science anywhere? We don't recommend you do something, but if you do these things, here's some more guidance for you that will restrict you even more. What? We're told that we should trust the science, we should trust the experts. There's no logic. I'm sorry, but there isn't. There is no logic in this directive to say, after 5 days, we don't care what you do. You don't have to test. But here's what we want you to do if you do test. Well, make up your mind. You either want us to test or you don't. If you don't want us to test, then don't give us guidance of what to do if we do test. That's just stupid. It makes no sense whatsoever. Okay. Back to it. Let's see what else there is to see. This from NBC News. Anger in Australia's tennis star Djokovic is granted exemption to enter. Article reads, Australians reacting with fury to the news that tennis star Novak Djokovic has been given an exemption permission to travel to play in the Australian Open amid a surge in COVID cases in the country. The world's top-ranked male player, who has refused to reveal if he is vaccinated against COVID, wrote on social media Tuesday that he had an exemption permission and was headed down under. The statement ends months of uncertainty about his participation because of Australia's strict COVID-19 vaccination requirements. Among the most prominent critics was the visibly angry Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who said on Wednesday that Djokovic should not get special treatment to enter the country, which has had some of the world's toughest border restrictions and only started to allow some international travel in November. He must provide acceptable proof that he cannot be vaccinated for medical reasons to be able to access the same travel arrangements as fully vaccinated travelers, Morris said at a news conference Wednesday. If that evidence is insufficient, he won't be treated any different to anyone else, and he'll be on the next plane home. There should be no special rules for Djokovic at all, none whatsoever, he added. However, these comments came after Morrison said earlier in the day that the decision to grant Djokovic an exemption was in the hands of the government of Victoria, the state where the tournament was to be held. Okay. Oh, yeah, don't go away from this yet. There's actually more I wanted to see here. Here we go. Australians, meanwhile, reacted to Djokovic's post that he was on the way to the country with anger. It is unbelievable that you get a special medical panel exemption to play tennis when thousands of Australians were denied seeing loved ones, dying family members, etc. over the last 2 years, Alan Burrell wrote on Twitter. I don't disagree with him. That's a good point. Why should he get an exemption? And then another person said, we've all done the right thing. We've all gone out and gotten our jabs and our boosters. I think it's an absolute disgrace, and I won't be watching. Okay. So I understand those couple of Australians that were quoted there being frustrated, right, with the fact that Djokovic gets to enter their country to play tennis while they've had to live through all of these lockdowns and restrictions and vaccine requirements and all this stuff. I get that. But here's my question. Why, citizens of Australia, did you allow things to get to this point? Why is it that you allowed yourselves to suffer through all of these hardships and everything else? Why didn't you stand up against it if you have a problem with it? Why are you now saying this guy should suffer along with the rest of us because we suffered so long? Well, quite honestly, if you feel like you suffered, that's on you. Okay? Either it's on you because of the people that you have elected to power, that you have allowed to have power, or that you didn't stand up to these people. Either way, it is on you. Just my opinion. All right. More crazy. Back to Fox News. Whoopi Goldberg stunned by positive test for COVID. I've done everything I was supposed to do. Article reads, The View co-host Whoopi Goldberg described being shocked Wednesday when she learned she tested positive for coronavirus during the show's break for the Christmas and New Year's holidays. During a remote appearance on the program while isolating at home, Goldberg declared that she was surprised when she received the positive test results because, according to her, she had been taking every necessary precaution to avoid contracting the virus. I left a couple of weeks ago just before the break because somebody I had been around had tested positive for coronavirus, so I left. So I've been gone a long time, I feel, Goldberg said. And I was all excited, and they have to test us. So they sent people to test me, and they tested me, and I was like, oh. And it was like, oh, no, you're not coming back. We're not sending anybody to your house. You have corona. And I was like, what, wait? Goldberg stated that her shot came from the fact that she was fully vaccinated, had received the vaccination booster shot, and had not gone anywhere other than her house or done anything. But that's the thing with Omicron. You just don't know where it is. You don't know where it is, who's got it, who's passing it, she said. It's one of those things where you think I've done everything I was supposed to do. Yeah, it doesn't stop Omicron, and that's the problem with the variant, because it gets stronger and it does different stuff to you. So, unless everybody gets vaccinated, that is what we're going to be facing the next, little while, she added. Okay, so just out of curiosity, this is part of the lunacy that just continues to drive me nuts. There is this constant talk about this being a pandemic of the quote-unquote unvaccinated. And it is the unvaccinated people who are putting the vaccinated in danger and all of this kind of stuff. Okay? Somebody, please, if you can explain this to me in the comments, please do leave me a comment and explain it. But don't be snide. Be real with it. Give me the actual the actual quote-unquote science behind this logic. How is it that if you have the vaccine, okay, if like Whoopi Goldberg, you have been vaccinated and you have been boosted, right? And that's supposed to protect you. How is it that an unvaccinated person is suddenly a danger? How is it that she can say, unless everybody gets vaccinated, that is what we're going to be facing for, a little while? Why? You're proving by being vaccinated and boosted that you can still get this thing. So where is the logic? Where is the science that says if just everybody was vaccinated, then nobody would be able to get this? When clearly we have a variant that is able to go around the vaccine. Please, somebody, tell me. I mean it. I'm serious about it. If you can show me the science behind it, please do, because I'd love to have the discussion. I'd love it. I just want to understand, but I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to say what Whoopi Goldberg and others like her have said, that if people would just get vaccinated, this would stop, but yet she's been vaccinated and boosted and isolated and everything else, and she's still got the thing. Just saying. Okay, let's do some more. This from Reuters. Trudeau says Canadians angered at anti-vaxxers promises more tests. Canadians are angered by people who are not vaccinated against COVID-19, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said on Wednesday, and he also promised more than 100 million rapid tests will be quickly distributed to provinces that are eagerly awaiting. Trudeau has mainly tried cajoling Canadians into getting inoculated, and his comments reflect a growing impatience by various levels of government trying to combat the spread of the Omicron, or as I like to call it, Megatron variant. Most of Canada's 10 provinces have reimposed limits on businesses and gatherings as medical professionals have warned that the healthcare systems could be swamped. When people see we're in lockdowns or serious public health restrictions right now, because of the risk posed to us by unvaccinated people get angry, Trudeau told a briefing, saying governments and health workers were frustrated. I'm getting so frustrated, I'm stumbling over my words when I'm reading, so apologies to you, dear listener. Please play along. But here we are again at yet another situation where you have a leader saying there's the risk posed to us by all the unvaccinated people, but yet we know that Omicron is breaking through the vaccine. So again, tell me where the risk is. It's hitting everybody. This shit is everywhere. It just is. I don't know. Okay. Trudeau's not the only one that's frustrated. So am I. To continue, Trudeau spoke after being asked about remarks by French President Emmanuel Macron, who said he wanted to piss off unvaccinated people. We'll get to that story in a minute. Trudeau also promised a full investigation into footage of passengers snapping selfies, drinking alcohol, and congregating close together on a December 30 Sunwing Airlines flight from Montreal to Mexico. I'm extremely frustrated. It's a slap in the face to see people putting their fellow citizens, putting airline workers at risk by being completely irresponsible. I don't even know what to say to that. Seriously? You're frustrated because people on a flight were close to each other? Has Justin been on a commercial airline recently? You just are close to each other, period. Heaven forbid there's ever an emergency where you've got to get off of a commercial flight quickly. Good luck. Because there's not room to move. Whatever. Okay. He goes on to say, there's no magic bullet on this. We're going to keep getting through this. There will be better days ahead. Okay, so he's saying he wants more tests. There's the whole issue of people not being vaccinated being a problem, but yet there's no magic bullet to it. All right. This brings me to another point, too. We're having this here in the U.S. with Biden pushing on tests. Trudeau's pushing on tests. Everybody around the world is pushing on this idea of testing. Why? Again, if you can share with me in the comments Again, I don't want to have snide back and forths here. Honest discussion. Exactly how is it that more and more testing is going to solve this problem? What are we trying to prove? Seriously, except perhaps trying to scare people? It's everywhere. It just is, okay? Hell, I probably have it right now talking to you for all I know. It wouldn't surprise me because it is everywhere. Most people don't even know that they have it because the symptoms are so mild. You have like a stuffy nose. Maybe you have a cough or you sneeze. That's about it for the vast majority of people if you read about how Omicron is working, okay? But I don't understand this concept of let's just go test everybody. You know, Biden had a statement where he stumbled through and he was talking about how to Google where to find tests, and his words were all jumbled up there. But then he said at the end, he says, where you can test, most often and for free. What do you mean most often? Like you want to just keep getting back in line and circulating around and keep getting test after test? What is the point? Honestly. At this point, Whoopi said herself that she was like isolated and she wasn't near anybody and she still got it. Okay, so if this thing is that virulent, if it is that invasive, if it is that prevalent, whatever word you want to put in there to describe the fact that it's everywhere, if it's that bad, what is the point of wasting all the time and all the money and all the efforts on testing when we're not going to get a hold of it? And I think it is more important at this point that if you have severe symptoms, then you should seek treatment. If you have a runny nose or you're coughing a little bit and your symptoms aren't a big deal, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, who cares? It's a cold at that point, right? So, I don't know. Waste of time and money, just my opinion. Okay. No, not that. Get me to what there we go. Okay. Let's take a look at one last story, because I referenced this in the Trudeau one. This also from Reuters. Macron's blunt language on France unvaccinated causes furor. The government on Wednesday defended President Emmanuel Macron's use of coarse language in a stepped-up campaign against France's unvaccinated after his words drew condemnation from the opposition and mixed reactions from voters. Macron said he wanted to piss off unvaccinated people by making their lives so complicated they would end up getting jabbed. He was speaking in an interview with Le Parisien newspaper, in which he also called unvaccinated people irresponsible and unworthy of being considered citizens. A president cannot say such things, Christian Jacobs, chair of the conservative Les Républicains party, told Parliament as it discussed a bill to make it mandatory for people to show proof of vaccination to enter many enclosed spaces. I'm not even going to read the rest of that article. Understand this, people. You have a prominent world leader right there who very publicly said he wanted to piss off his citizens if they weren't vaccinated, make it hard for them, and oh, by the way, they weren't even worthy of being considered citizens because they made a choice that he doesn't agree with. We have said from day one on this podcast that we are not anti-vax, not in the slightest. We have vaccinated people in this house. We also have a couple of unvaccinated for medical reasons. This is why we say we are pro talk to your doctor. It doesn't fit for everybody. It just doesn't. There are some cases where you don't want to do it. There are some cases where you do. We prove that right in this home where we have both. But I'm telling you, this is lunacy. The fact that you have the government of Australia, just locking their people down so hard it's unreal, and they're to the point where they're upset because somebody comes into their country who doesn't have to put up with the same stuff. They're like, suffer like us. Well, why are you suffering in the first place? You have Trudeau, who's up in Canada pushing on the idea of more testing, upset because some people had some drinks on a flight. Just acting like a complete loon. You've got Macron now just flat saying, I just want to piss people off, and if you're not vaccinated, I don't consider you to be a citizen. And then you have the CDC giving stupid conflicting guidance, and Whoopi Goldberg saying, I did everything right, I've had every shot, I was isolated, and I still got this thing, what the hell? This is the state of the world that we live in right now. I am telling you, it is time to be done with all of this. It just is. There is a certain amount of risk to living. I've said this to everybody in my family, and I think it's true, which is why I've said it, and I've said it often. Living causes death every time it's tried. We all owe a death. That is the price that we pay for our life. Okay? The question is, do you want to spend that life that you have, that short amount of time, that precious gift, do you want to spend it in fear, in isolation? Or do you want to go out and live and let the chips fall where they may? If you can't enjoy your life, if you can't get out there and be excited about things and do things, is that a life worth living? Is it really? Do you enjoy torturing yourself? Do you enjoy going through all of these hoops and having all these lockdowns and everything else for something that, yes, I'm not denying it, it has hurt people, it has killed people for sure, but this isn't like the Black Death or something. It never has been, and it's getting to be less and less of a problem. It's following the normal course of a virus. The normal course of a virus as it evolves is it becomes more and more infectious, less and less of a problem for your body to deal with. That's where we're at now. That's good that it's following that course, because if it becomes less and less of a problem, that means we're all going to get it because it's spreading more. That's fine. But because we're all going to get it, we're all going to acquire immunity from it, whether we're vaccinated or not. That could actually be a good thing in the long run. And that's not just my opinion. That's the opinion of a lot of medical professionals. If you can go out there and find their stuff, you should go to DuckDuckGo if you want that info, because it'll be buried on Google. But it does come down to this. Is this the kind of life you want to lead? Is this how you want to spend 2022? Do you want to have this kind of crazy? Do you want to live in fear? Do you want to go to the websites, the news aggregators, and this is the story about lockdowns and people being second-class citizens if they're not vaccinated, all this kind of stuff? I personally, I'm not interested. And I hope that you're not either. Because quite honestly, until enough people stand up and say, nope, I'm done. We're not going to do this anymore. I'm going to go live my life. I've made my choices whether or not I've received a vaccination. I'm making my choice whether or not I want to mask up. It's my thing. I'm going to go live. And that is the best way forward. Because I will tell you this. I'll tell you this is the final thing. Many of you listening are probably much younger than I am. And I will tell you, your life will move much faster than you think could possibly be true. I feel like just yesterday, I graduated from high school. I really do. But the truth of it is, my retirement years are starting to creep up on me. That is where I'm at now. It's crazy how fast it moves. So do you want to spend what time you have living in this way? Think about that. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Please do consider, if you are on YouTube or Rumble, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video, please do like, subscribe, share, stuff like that. I might do more posts today if the Spirit moves me. If not, I will see you tomorrow. As always, thank you for watching.